Good evening, welcome to Minority Caucus. My name is Akbar Ruhullah Khomeini. 8 years ago, the NDC, in a propaganda response to a Akufo-Addo proposed Northern Development Authority, similarly pledged to establish a Savannah Accelerated Development Authority to accelerate development in the north and to address endemic poverty levels in the 3 regions of the north. 8 years on, the glaring evidence is that John Mahama and his cronies have profited in excess of over 300 million Ghana cedis from the pain, misery, and underdevelopment of the north. There's unanimity across the country that Sada has become a spectacular failure. Rather than addressing poverty, the Mahama government has accelerated poverty in the north through Sada. We'll go for a break. When we come, I will introduce my guests. Tonight, I've been joined by Simon Ali. He's the constituency secretary for Wale constituency in the northern region. And he's also a member of the Northern Regional Communications team of the New Patriotic Party. Welcome to the program, Simon.
Thank you very much.
You came from the north just yesterday.
Yeah.
The president was in the north, and he taught the 3 regions of the north in his campaign, disguised as accounting to the people. Sadly, he never accounted to the people of the 3 northern regions as far as Sada is concerned. How is Sada faring in the north?
Well, let me start by saying a very good evening to our viewers who are doing the monitoring. A very good evening. I salute my regional executives led by our able chairman, Chairman Bugri, and my constituency executives and all our party followers. As a matter of fact, when you go to the north, the impression of the people regarding Sada is that Sada is a waste of the taxpayers' money. Monies have not been accounted for. Huge sums of monies has gone into private pockets. Sada has failed woefully, like you said in your intro, to address the developmental needs, the basic developmental needs of the people in the 3 northern regions, and for that matter, the Savannah Belt. Sada, as a matter of fact, people do not understand even what Sada is as we speak. Basic things regarding access to potable drinking water. Our roads are in deplorable states. Talk about agro-processing industries in the northern region. They are all defunct. Talk about the state of agriculture in the north. I think when we get into deep into the discussion, all of these matters will come up and we shall address them one after the other. But the perception, the impression of people in the north is that Sada is another failed promise of the John Dramani Mahama-led administration. Period.
8 years ago, when the NDC neutered this idea in response to the NPP's proposal to establish a Northern Development Authority. The argument then was that the economy of the north is largely driven by agriculture.
Absolutely.
And that they were going to focus Sada, to invest heavily in agriculture and to support farmers in the north to be able to address poverty. How is agri faring in the northern region?
For me, agriculture, even when we look at it from the national perspective, agriculture, I think, is growing at a rate of 0.04%. And I hear there's some revised, there's a revised figure regarding the growth of agriculture. But all what we know is that agriculture has recorded a miserable growth rate of 0.04%. And nobody can doubt that. Agriculture is not faring well in the 3 northern regions. Let's talk about the agro-processing industries that our forefathers left behind for us. Let's go to the Upper East region and talk about the Zuwarango Meat Factory. It is now a worshipping center.
Oh.
A factory that used to process a lot of meat. It provided jobs, it created jobs for a lot of people in the north. The Zuwarango factory provided ready market even to people and for people who were into livestock rearing. Today, the factory is no more. We can talk about the Palugu tomato factory that provided ready market even for people who were into dry season farming, that is tomato farming. As we speak right now, the Palugu tomato factory is no more. Let's come back to the cotton industry. The ginneries, we used to have a ginnery in Tamale. We used to have a cotton ginnery in Tumu in the Upper West region. Then we used to have another cotton ginnery in the Upper East region, Bolgatanga. As we speak right now, Akbar, not even one of the cotton ginneries in the three northern regions is functioning. Let's talk about let's go into the shea nut industry. The shea nut processing company that they set up, they claim they set up in Bupe in the run-up to the 2012 general elections is defunct as we speak. It's been shut down. The Nasia rice mill has been shut down. The Wulugu livestock is been shut down as we speak. So agriculture as we speak, cotton, a lot of people, the cotton industry used to provide a lot of jobs for a lot of our youth in the north. As we speak today, not even you can't find hundreds of the youth who are into the cotton industry as we speak, because one, the Ghana Cotton Company has collapsed completely. It was given out to Wenco. They have also collapsed the industry. They laid off a lot of field supervisors when it was cotton board. Under our regime, the cotton industry was booming. It was providing jobs for a lot of the teeming unemployed youth in the north. Field supervisors were employed. Managers in various districts were engaged by Ghana Cotton Board. Mechanics were employed to service the tractors. Once there were tractors, drivers were also employed. The Ghana Cotton Company provided ready market for our farmers who were into cotton.
And farmers receive financial support.
Support from Ghana Cotton Company. As we speak today, go to the three northern regions. The ginneries have been shut down. I've mentioned them, one in Tumu in the Upper West region, one in Bolgatanga, the Upper East region, and one in the Northern region, Tamale. They have been shut down. So agriculture, as a matter of fact, is not doing well in the three northern regions as we speak right now.
Wow. But the promise was to invest some 500 million Ghana cedis in 4 years, with a seed capital of some 200 million and an annual contribution of 100 million Ghana cedis. So if the NDC were to stay in power for say 4 years, Sada was expected to receive 500 million Ghana cedis from the government of Ghana as a direct support to closing the development deficit between the north of our country and the south of our country. The argument from government propagandists over the years have been that all of these monies were made available to the authority, and to the extent that the monies were made available, development in the north has been improved. But the picture you painted shows a very gloomy situation in the north, and the investigative reports suggest that some of these monies went into private pockets.
Absolutely.
And was not actually used. How credible is that?
Akbar, you recall that some officials of the Savannah Associated Development Authority embarked on wasteful trips led by the then Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Gilbert Idi. You recall that, and it was reported in the Auditor General's report. It was captured in the Auditor General's report, and in that report, a closer sum of 250,000 Ghana cedis was blown into these wasteful foreign trips. When you come again, 48 million Ghana cedis. I think when you convert it to the old cedis, we have some 480 billion old cedis.
Wow.
Was also pumped into the guinea fowl rearing, then the non-existent, the ghost trees, agroforestry they attempted doing, the tree planting exercise they attempted doing in the three northern regions. 480 billion old cities.
Just to plant trees.
Just to plant trees.
In the midst
and to rear guinea fowls. People, a team went there to assess, to find out where the guinea fowls were. And not even one guinea fowl was found. That is where we always say that the guinea fowls have taken a leave to Burkina Faso.
And they've returned in the form of a Ford.
Exactly, a Ford expedition. Massa, when you look at the many things they have done in Sada, Sada for me has now become a vehicle for corruption. Nana Akufo-Addo, when he told the three northern regions, made mention of this. It has become a vehicle for corruption. Monies that were meant to bridge the developmental gap, to provide potable drinking water, to work on our roads that are in deplorable states, to provide school buildings for a lot of our people in the rural areas, has ended up in the pockets of private individuals of this government. And most of them, what is worrying is that most of them are also Northerners. And that is the sad part 2 of this sad story that we are narrating this evening.
The reality is that the office of the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority is under the direct supervision of the presidency.
Absolutely.
And you have a Northerner who is a president. Absolutely. Who has experienced poverty in the north, was seeing how his people have suffered poverty for only God knows how long. So what would make such a man, knowing very well the poverty levels in the north, use Sada to enrich his friends and family members? And even when this is blown to the public domain, nothing has been done to ensure that these people are held to account.
You know, they have endorsed corruption, and corruption has become part of the government of the day. The great loot and share is still around. Gilbert Idi is walking around free. Nothing has happened to him. The board chairman of Sada was a Northerner. The chief executive officer was a Northerner. Then, like you rightly mentioned, the president of the Republic of Ghana is also a Northerner.
And he supervised it.
And he is still supervising. He supervised it in the run-up to before 2012, and he is still supervising Sada. And yet we cannot see the fruits of Sada in the three northern regions. Our roads, like I said, are in deplorable state. Oh, Akbar. And what is worrying is that during the president's tour of the three northern regions recently, the loud silence of the president regarding the progress of Sada is worrying. Throughout the tour, the accounting to the people's tour, he failed woefully to account to the people the true state of Sada. There was nowhere during his tour that he mentioned Sada. There was nowhere. In the upper west, in the upper east and northern region, the president deliberately dodged Sada in all his accounting to the people's tour. If you promised us like you did in 2008, and when you say they promised an amount, it is important that we take listeners through what they wrote. I have just taken this from the NDC 2008 manifesto, and this was what they said. And with your kind permission, I would want to just read it out to our viewers, that it is very important that, and I'll just take this part, that all data from every credible institution or source speaks about the desperate condition of the North. Available data reveals that 9 out of every 10, 8 out of every 10, 7 out of every 10 people are classified as poor in the upper west, upper east and northern regions respectively. It is the considered opinion of the NDC that this grave manifestation of poverty in the Savannah belt, comprising the three northern regions and the northern parts of the Brom Ahafo and Volta region, is caused by historical, ecological and political reasons. An NDC government shall therefore take immediate and urgent steps to bridge the developmental gap between the north and the south as follows. Bullet point number 1 with your kind permission, I'll land here. Set up a Savannah Accelerated Development Authority, now known as Sada, to be directly under the president. That was the point you made.
Yeah.
I have deliberately quoted this portion of their 2008 manifesto to buttress the point you have just made, that to set up a Savannah Associated Development Authority to be directly under the president with a vision, a mandate to accelerate the socio-economic development of the Savannah Belt through strategic investment in human capital and harnessing of its resources.
Wow.
Akbar, it's a sad story. It is not, you did not concoct, you did not yet decide to say that Sada is under the supervision of the president. Yeah. It is coming from the NDC's own 2008 manifesto. And they cannot run away from their shadow. Can they? No, they cannot. They can. No. Now, another promise, and this is where they promised the 200 million Ghana cedis, and I think it's also important, with your kind permission again. NDC 2008, the initial startup contribution to this fund. Okay, let me take bullet point number 3. Establish a special development fund for the Sada to be sourced from the consolidated fund, multi-donor agencies, bilateral, multilateral, and developmental finance institutions and private sector capital, notably from the local and international banks, as well as investors in the Savannah economy. The initial startup contribution to this fund shall be 200 million Ghana cedis. That was what you mentioned in your intro. With an annual contribution from government of 100 million each year for 20 years. For 20 years. We have just seen 8 years of the sad state of Sada. I don't think Ghanaians, and for that matter, people from the 3 northern regions can wait to see 20 years of Sada. No. I think they have come to their limit. They have reached their elastic limit with the corruption, with the level of corruption that has engulfed Sada. I think that 8 years is enough for Ghanaians to call for a change, so that when there's a change in regime, then the Nana Akufo-Addo, the originators of this master plan, will come with the Northern Development Authority. You recall in 2008 when Nana Akufo-Addo talked about rolling out the Northern Development Authority, His Excellency the President, then Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, somewhere in the Upper West, ridiculed the policy. That policy that was meant to, we had the plan that was meant to really break the developmental gap between the North and the South, was ridiculed by His Excellency, the then Vice President and now the President of the Republic of Ghana. And do you know what he told the people of the Upper West then? He told them that if Nana has $1 million to set up the Northern Development Authority, then he should better use it to settle debt. You recall? Yeah. He ridiculed it. Today, Sada is in a sad state. Sada has become a vehicle for corruption. The Create, Loot and Share Brigade is what Sada has found itself in. Today, the center cannot hold what it was meant for. Is it bridging the gap between the North and the South? No. Agriculture is declining in the 3 northern regions. I have talked about the agro-processing industry we used to have. I thought they could revamp one of them through the resources they have gathered from Sada. That has not happened. When we come, I will chronicle a few of our roles that are in deplorable state.
So what you are suggesting is that Sada has rather improvised the North.
Sada has rather widened even the gap between the North and the South.
How?
The level of poverty has increased. How? Because we expected Sada to have created some jobs through the setting up of some industries. If they have rather collapsed the industries. Those they came to meet have deteriorated. And we're expecting that some monies would have been pumped into revamping most of these industries that would have created jobs for our teen unemployed youth in the 3 northern regions. When we go to 3 northern regions today, unemployment
is terrible.
It's terrible.
You see young
graduates working in the streets. They have no jobs. And we are talking about Sada that could have created thousands and millions of jobs for the teen unemployed youth. The money that would have been used to create these jobs, they have invested them. They have found themselves the money in the pockets of private individuals.
Some of them have become NDC parliamentary candidates.
They have become. NDC parliamentary candidates today. They have glorified corruption under this regime. So Sada for me is like Cabo described it yesterday, is the president's is President Mahama's legacy of shame in the three northern regions. In the run-up to the 2008 elections, oh, I understand your problems because I'm a northerner. Vote for me because I'm one of you. You recall that tribalistic,
or even this year he has started.
Absolutely, he has started doing something much more in Walwali and in Nalergo. He did say in Nalergo he came to say they should ignore Baumia and vote for him. They should ignore him like how? Like I said on City, you recall, I expected him to have chronicled some developmental projects he has embarked on in the Mampuru area, and then say, oh, these projects I have embarked in the northern region, ignore Baumia and vote for me. But the countless promises you made to the people in Mampuru, and for that matter the three northern regions, you have not been able to honor even one of them. A typical promise that he made to us in Walwali in particular was that he was coming to set up a midwifery training school. As we speak, not even a block has been laid anywhere called a midwifery training school in Walwali. The community-based schools, they promised, they promised to build some 200 community-based schools in their 2012 manifesto. Nasia was earmarked. They came to do the sword cutting ceremony. Then Langwizi, is in the East Mampusi, and Nasia is in the West Mampusi district. Not even a concrete, but a sword cutting ceremony.
In the whole of the northern region, he didn't even commission one school.
Absolutely.
In his own region.
Exactly.
Where access to education is limited.
It's limited. And we thought Sada was also coming to bridge the gap in terms of education, access to educational facilities like schools. We have a lot of schools that are still operating under trees. Not even a single community day school in the entire three northern region has been commissioned. You recall the Volga Boku Road. He did a sword cutting ceremony in 2000 in the run-up to 2012 elections. In his recent visit to the Upper East, he went and did another sword cutting ceremony there. In Walwali, he came to do a sword cutting for the commencement of work on the construction of a GES office. When natural fact capitation grants have not been paid, subventions to most of the GES offices in the whole of the country are in arrears.
And school feeding in the
school feeding grants
not to resume.
Exactly. The president of CHAS was loud and clear on radio and on TV, lamenting over the non-payment of the school feeding grants for second term and third term running. And then they are even threatening to close down schools in the three northern regions. Masa, is this what Sada is coming to address? John Dramani Mahama and the NDC, they have really failed Ghanaians in general, in the three northern regions, people in the three northern regions in particular.
Wow. Yesterday, Anthony Abeyfakabu addressed the press through the Truth Forum, where he stated that 300 million Ghana cedis of Sada's money remain unaccounted for. So for 8 years, what the NDC did to the three regions of the north was to use our predicament, our plight, our underdevelopment to steal as much as 300 million Ghana cedis. In fact, 300 million Ghana cedis is sufficient to aid development in the northern region alone.
Absolutely.
To truly invest that in the northern region. I come from the Dagbong area, and it is not just Mampuru, but even in Dagbong, in Gonjaland, the situation is bad. The people are getting poorer and poorer.
It's terrible.
And Sada was supposed to be an antidote to poverty. Surprisingly, it is not.
Akbar, can you imagine the number of dams that 300 million Ghana cedis can construct in the three northern regions?
To ensure all year-round farming.
That will reduce poverty. Can you imagine the number of tractors? We are talking about mechanized agriculture in Ghana. and for that matter, in the 3 northern regions. Can you imagine the number of tractors that 300 million Ghana cedis can buy? So we can set up mechanized centers in the districts like they promised in their 2008 and 2012 NDC manifesto. Can you imagine? So we could have one in Yendi, we could have one in Waliwali, we could have one, so the farmers can have access to these tractors. Access to tractors is a problem in the 3 northern regions.
Some 100 tractors were procured, but I hear those tractors have been auctioned to NDC constituency chairman
and secretaries.
Wow.
And that is serious. With Sada, that is why I'm saying I started the whole discussion by saying that Sada is, for me, is a very sad story. It has become a vehicle for corruption. And this the level of poverty in the northern region for me has increased. And John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, is the one who is coming from the north, and he has deliberately inflicted this level of poverty on the people of the 3 northern regions. And I think it's a very sad story. It's a very sad story. My heart bleeds as I discuss these things, because I know the level of deprivation in the 3 northern regions. Massa, even a common borehole in a community, people are looking for boreholes.
Dr. Baumia, a private person, had to
step in
most communities
to ensure that the Waliwali District Hospital in particular was given a mechanized borehole.
A government hospital.
Dr. Baumia had to go to the East Mamprisi to ensure that he provided them with a borehole. They needed just a borehole.
And was it the Nalerugu Senior High School?
Nalerugu Senior High School, same has been done there. And a lot of communities in the 3 northern regions. You recall Baumia had to go to provide furniture for, is it Perisi Primary School in the Upper West region,
where the DC attended.
Absolutely, where the DC attended. The school pupils were lying on the bare floor. Dr. Baumia saw it and said, no, this cannot happen in the 21st century. A private individual who doesn't take taxes, and you have a government that takes taxes. They have gathered taxes more than any other government
in our history.
Massa, and on common things. The president flew all the way from Accra to Waliwali to commission a mechanized borehole. A mechanized borehole for the entire 3 northern regions. He commissioned only 2 mechanized boreholes. One in Zabuzugu, and then the other one in Paragu.
In fact, in Zabuzugu, that reminds me, in Zabuzugu, the president had to use a helicopter from Yendi to Zabuzugu because the road between Yendi and Zabuzugu
is a deplorable state.
Is a death trap.
Absolutely. So if the president it is only the president who have access to a helicopter. How many of our people in the northern region will even have access to a V8?
No, they can't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So poverty in the north has increased, has ballooned. In my candid opinion, our roads are in a deplorable state. Even Karga, he went there by the helicopter. Karga, because of the deplorable state of the road. And I've just told you about the Bolga-Boku route. He went there, it's in a deplorable state. But in the run-up to the 2012 election, a sword cutting ceremony was organized. He went back there again and did another sword cutting ceremony. And then the machines have been taken away after that. They came and did that.
So what it means is that if the NPP had not intervened in working on the Tamale-Yendi road, the president would probably have used a helicopter from Tamale to Yendi and to Zabuzugu and to Karga.
That is it, Massa. It is serious. Our roads are. We are talking here. We are talking about roads. We are even talking about the main highways. When you can't even talk about the feeder roads. The feeder road, they are the road that link one community to another. You can't talk about them. They are in deplorable states. The president went to Paragu to commission a mechanized borehole and went through a deplorable route from a community called Bani to Paragu in a deplorable state. And I think that the president, if he's doing the listening, and his ministers and surrogates, if they are doing the They're watching us. In fact, my heart is bleeding at this moment. It's a sad story. Sada, for me, it's a very sad story. It's a very sad story.
Sada is a very sad story. Every Northerner is concerned about the state of Sada. We'll go for a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. We'll take some few text messages from our viewers. This one from Mutari in Kitikrachi, and he writes, "Good evening, Akbar. It is shameful to note that whenever the NDC try to copy policies of the NPP, they always fail because it is not their original idea. The Northern Development Authority, free SHS are examples." And this one from Abraham in Tamale, he says that Sada by NDC government is a failed collapsed entity. Corruption has taken over the entire organization. They fell down commercial and vital plans, shared trees, and planted unwanted and valueless trees. The evidence is that Sola coming to Larbanga. Tonight we've been discussing the Sada situation. Sada was intended to address the poverty levels in the 3 regions of the north, and it was intended to accelerate development in the north. But 8 years on, Sada has become a vehicle for corruption. Sada has become a vehicle where John Mahama and his cronies are profiting from the underdevelopment and poverty of the north. And to help me do the constituency secretary of the NPP from Wale is helping me do the discussion tonight. Simon, before we went for that break, you were making the point about the gloomy situation in the north. I remember in 2012, I was in Tamale then, we had to battle the propaganda of the NDC that this was the first time under the 4th Republic that we were having a Northerner run for president on the ticket of a major political party, and that it was a catalyst to bring an end to the poverty situation in the north, to accelerate development. And we kept telling them that, look, we were interested in somebody who would be truly committed to northern development, not really somebody who was from the north. But at the end of the day, they managed to convince most of our people that indeed a northerner could help them. But the picture you painted and the evidence you showed really broke my heart, that a northerner would be doing these kind of things to his people. What would the NPP do differently from what John Mahama is doing?
In bridging the gap between the north and the south. You recall during our time, we brought in the Millennium Challenge account. That alone helped in developing the north. You recall that one. We even attempted revamping the Palugu tomato factory. It was renamed the Northern Star Tomato Factory. As at the time we were leaving office, it was still working. So for MPP, we are still talking about establishing the Northern Development Authority that Nana Akufo-Addo promised in 2008. And I think that when you look at our 2012 manifesto, we re-echoed, we re-emphasize on establishing the Northern Development Authority. We have the master plan. DS was just a copy thing. They just saw it Sada. When we introduced the national health insurance, they said they were coming with one-time premium. Where is the one-time premium as we speak today? It has become a mirage. When Nana Akufo-Addo talks about one district, one factory thing, they say it is not doable. Then they say, then in the next minute you see them say they are already doing it. One communicator will say it is not doable. Then another communicator will say, they are already implementing that.
In their 2014 budget statement.
Absolutely. So when you look at, for MPP, we are promising the people of the north the establishment of the Northern Development Authority. And I think this was started in the 50s and 40s, by our leading members, Jato, Laji Mumuni Bawumia, Nana Akufo-Addo, Then the Northern People's Party, these were members of the Northern People's Party. They came up with this laudable program to bridge the developmental gap between the North and the South. And I think that the NPP, as we speak right now, we have a master plan that can really bridge the developmental gap. It will become at least $1 million as seed capital for
$1 billion.
Yes, for the establishment of the Northern Development Authority. I think we will take lessons from the failed Sada, that has failed woefully to address the developmental needs of the people in the 3 northern regions.
Apart from agriculture, Sada was expected to invest heavily in infrastructure development in the north.
Yeah.
Because the argument then was that the infrastructure deficit in the north was so huge.
Yeah.
And that to do that means that government would have to heavily invest in infrastructure. And that Sada was going to be the policy vehicle towards such investment. How is the infrastructure situation in the north?
Infrastructure encompasses a lot of things: provision of potable drinking water, construction of our roads, etc., etc. And we have talked about our roads. They are all in deplorable state.
You said you were going to list some roads that...
Yes. I'm just coming to that. They are in a deplorable state. Take Wali to Nalergo, they have been singing every day that they are working on it. It is not so. The picture is not so. Take Wali to the War Road that they keep repeating. It is not so. Take Bolgatanga to Boku. It's in a deplorable state. What about the Karaba we have just talked about? What about the Zamzum we have talked about? Bimbila. A lot of our roads are in a very terrible state.
Bimbila Road.
Yes, they are in a terrible state. The Eastern Corridor, they are working and the road is deteriorating as they work. And I even heard this morning that most of the equipment that they sent there, they are taking them one after the other. They are going to abandon the project. We still have infrastructure deficit in terms of classrooms. A lot of our pupils and students are still studying under trees. Go to my constituency, in particular, Wali. There's a school called LA Primary B. You see a lot of children sitting under trees. I used to refer to them as 3 classrooms under 3 trees. You have a daycare center A, B, and C, all operating under 3 trees. So I always refer to them as 3 classrooms under 3 trees. Go to most of our communities. You weep for yourself. I was talking about access to potable drinking water. Go to the communities. They're just looking for a source of drinking water. Just an ordinary borehole. It's a problem.
They drink from the same source with animals.
It's a very big problem. Wasatek, Walwali Senior High, Dr. Baumia and then the MP, Dr. Sarabamba, had to donate some polytanks to them so they could, avert the acute water situation that has bedeviled the school. Go to our schools in the north. You see students walking long distances in search of water. It's a very sad story. Monies that has the 200 million that has gone into the pockets of private individuals could have been channeled into the provision of potable drinking water in most of our institutions, our hospitals, the payment of feeding grants in the 3 northern regions. They were saying before because Kufuor was not a Northerner, that was why the school feeding grants for some time were in arrears. Today, it's a different ball game. A Northerner has come and our plight has worsened. Our plight has worsened. The school feeding program that we rolled out, Massa, is the payment is a problem. It is gradually collapsing. The capitation grant, I have talked about it. That was inuring to the benefit of the people in the 3 northern regions. Massa, it's in arrears. A lot of things are going on in the north, and I think that you will not be happy if you are part of this government and you are a northerner. You must go to your bed this evening and think well. And think very well. Hilal Imam, They were saying there was corruption in his administration. I don't think Hilal Imam could have taken away monies close to 300 million Ghana cedis.
Not even 1 million.
And he was overthrown. And he was overthrown by these same people. Because PNDC and NDC, I think the value is the same. They are the same group of people. He was overthrown. If today we have our own brother who is pretending over gargantuan corruption like this, 300 million unaccounted for, 250,000 Ghana cedis blown into wasteful trips by the chief executive officer, who I think is even a brother or an in-law of the president.
90,000 Ghana cedis was paid for consultancy work.
Yes, just like that.
From the Lands Commission.
Absolutely, consultancy. Can you imagine the number of boreholes that the amount can provide for our people in the 3 northern regions? The guinea fowl rearing. A lot of people are into rearing guinea fowls. If these monies were given out to them as loans, I think by now we would have been somewhere and not discussing non-existent guinea fowls. The tree planting.
I have a friend called Aziz, who is into guinea fowl rearing. Aziz is a very serious guy in Tamale, and a support from government, Sada, to him would have expanded his operations.
Absolutely.
And certainly he would have extended, opportunities to other brothers of his who are not working.
Absolutely.
But people like Aziz are not being supported.
They are not being supported. That is the problem, Masa. That is the problem. So you can imagine these monies, closer sum, 250,000 Ghana cedis are blown like that. 300 million Ghana cedis gone into the private individuals in the government. I've talked about the construction of dams. I've talked about the revamping of these agro industries dotted across the 3 northern regions. They are defunct. The Zwarango meat factory has been turned to a church building. After the Wulibu livestock you can't even talk about it. So, Masa, what is the president, John Dramani Mahama, who claims to be a Northerner, who came and told us, and shamelessly told us on platforms, that we should vote for him because he was one of us? Very tribalistic. And like we said, he has started the game. Very tribalistic. He incited the people of the North against Nana Akufo-Addo when he attempted constructing hostels for our brothers and sisters who are here doing the Kayayi. They incited the Northerners against him. And I think that the John Dramani, His Excellency the President, must be apologizing to the people of the North for misleading Northerners to vote against Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. What is wrong with somebody promising to build hostels for our brothers and sisters who are loitering in the streets of Accra and Kumasi, and to give them some entrepreneurial training, so that when they can migrate, they can move back to the North and set up their own businesses. By setting up their own businesses, we plan to even give out loans from Maslow, which we established, which has also now become a vehicle for corruption. Maslow has become a vehicle for corruption. The LEAP program has become a vehicle for corruption. All the pro-poor policies, the NPP, led by His Excellency J.A. Kufuor, who was not even a Northerner, inured to the benefit of the Northerners. Look at the Millennium Challenge account. It's a typical example. The Millennium Challenge account. They used it in providing small town water systems to the growth of communities.
And all those areas.
Exactly.
Including roads.
President Kufuor invested heavily on roads in the 3 northern regions. The Yendi, Tamale Yendi Road is a classical example. Provision of potable drinking water, small town water systems. Not like the mechanized boreholes he has just gone to the north to commission.
The Water Project.
Water Project in Tamale that provided a lot of jobs for people and provided water. Water was given to the people at their doorsteps. That was what a Sada was able to do. But in the 2012, in the run-up to the 2012 elections, President John Dramani Mahama came and incited Northerners against Nana Akufo-Addo. And I think that President Mahama misled my people. President Mahama misled the people of the North. And he must apologize to the people of, because he has failed us woefully. The level of joblessness in that part of the country is worrying. Was President Kufuor in Northern? No. So I'm calling on my...
The three northern regions are the only regions you find young men seated around in groups. From as early as 7 a.m. in the morning till about 12 a.m., before they disperse. And they're there talking about politics, chieftaincy, players for all kinds of things because they do not have jobs to do.
There are no jobs.
And we have had a northern president.
Yeah.
And what he does and his party is to build shelves.
That's all.
Paint them in NDC colors for them to continue to sit there.
Be sitting there. And I think that is worrying. It's a very worrying phenomenon. Instead of investing the monies in the collapsed agro industries we have in the north, so that can provide a lot of jobs for the teen unemployed youth, Massa, they are investing in putting up party offices, party shelves for people to sit and then play ludo and discuss politics, like you rightly mentioned. The level of joblessness, the level of poverty in the north, Massa, and if you hear the colossal amount of money that President John Dramani Mahama allows to go into the drain, Massa, you cannot sleep. It's worrying.
He and his ministers have become richer.
A 3 square meal for some families is a problem. And Akbar, you know it.
Yeah.
You know it. There are school pupils when they go, because of the nature of the school feeding program now, they don't get anything to eat. They come home and they don't know what to eat. And you have such a person, a northern president, who told us he has gone through what we are going through. So he's the best to fix our problems. Today is a worrying situation.
Wow.
It's a very worrying, and I feel sad. There was a time I went somewhere with Dr. Bawumia, and when we got there, they wanted basic things, like a culvert, so they could just pass a footbridge.
Wow.
It's a problem. And for boreholes, provision of potable drinking water, everywhere you go is a problem.
And schools.
When you go to the north, school, the ability to pay school fees is a problem. And I always ask them, where's the progressive free senior high, the northern president? Because this was how he referred to himself. The northern president promised the people of Ghana, and for that matter, his brothers and sisters in the 3 northern regions. I think it's a very sad story.
Let me repeat this message from Sada Pablo. He says that President Mahama is a failure to Northerners and to Ghanaians as a whole. His lack of ideas in governance is cynic, and I wonder if he has advisors. In logic, if the head doesn't work, the whole body ceases to function. And since Mahama is the head and is not functioning, then we shouldn't expect anything from the NDC to work. JM must go. Sheko She, and this is coming from Sadat Pablo in Tamale. Simon.
Yes.
Sada, apart from investment in farming and in infrastructure, was supposed to also aid in small-scale businesses.
Absolutely.
Because for those who are familiar with the North, they know that our women are into petty trading.
Absolutely.
So the argument was that apart from supporting farmers and investing in infrastructure, Sada was also going to be an opportunity to help our mothers in the North in their small-scale businesses and petty trading.
Absolutely.
But in the last 8 years, not even a single mother can stand out and say that Sada supported me to grow my petty trading.
You cannot find anybody to tell you this.
But they tell us that those investments have been made.
We don't see them on the ground. Where are they? What are those investments? I recall when we were in power, we used to have this social investment fund that also used to help people in small-scale businesses, especially our women. You recall we rolled out the Rural Enterprises Project. You remember, under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. That has collapsed. Then we rolled out the Maslock, Then we also had something at the Ministry of Women and Children's Affairs that we used to refer to as the Women's Development Fund. When Honorable Ajay Alima was the then minister, we used to have all these things. We don't know where these things have gone into. The Rural Enterprises Project has collapsed. It was under the direct supervision of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. And apart from the Sada promise the President, His Excellency the President made to the people of the three northern regions, Masa, if we want to chronicle the broken, I refer to them as the broken northern promises. The promises he made in 2008 and in 2012 regarding the development of the three northern regions. My friend, we may not be able to finish this our program. And with your kind permission, once again, I like evidence-based discussion. Look, I have just taken this from the NDC 2008 manifesto, and in that manifesto, this was what they said they were going to do for us. That under the NDC government, cotton will play a major role in reducing poverty and developing rural populations and the economy. The cotton gimmies are nowhere to be found. How are you going to develop the cotton industry? The Tumu one has collapsed. The Bolgatanga cotton gimmy has collapsed. The Tamale cotton gimmy has collapsed. Cotton board has collapsed. Tell me where they are. Masa, look at what the promise they made regarding Dawadawa in the three northern regions. That the Dawadawa tree is an important economic tree in the three northern regions with numerous commercial and medicinal benefits. The NDC government will set up a task force to encourage large-scale Dawadawa tree development, processing, and utilization. Akbar, myself and you are from the northern region. We have a lot of friends in the Upper East and Upper West region.
In fact, we visit those regions.
Absolutely, during campaigns. Yeah. You cannot find. This has become a mirage. This has become a mirage. Another promise they made that an NDC government shall provide protective clothing and intermediate means of transport such as donkey cars and other incentives for women who pick shannas in the wild to increase the quality of shannas produced for local use and for export. The shanna industry, that factory that was set up, the propaganda-driven shanna industry that was set up in the run-up to the 2012 elections has been shut down in Bupe.
Simon, our time is up. Can you wrap up in Mampuru for me and to appeal to your people in Mampuru to support the MPP? Quickly and briefly.
So, Banka Wumi multi-TV, minority caucus, and Pusteya Anula. The German and John Dramani Mahama, Ogunyamin Zantin Palo, Shilton Daboni Zantin Pama, Kansurizama Atubawuni, Tia to our Bakunamanga. Voting to Nana Adodankwa Akufu Ado, who only to Ghana, Zulana, PP Shakanjanawa, 7 December 2016.
Quick one, this one from Aston Diallo from Hoho in Volta region. He says that JM has failed to achieve anything significant in all portfolios that he has held. Sada is a fraud and introduced by the NDC government to dupe unsuspecting Ghanaians. JM must go. Thank you very much for watching. Sada remains a spectacular failure. What will lead a man from the northern region to invest in tree planting in the midst of poverty remains a misery? The logical conclusion is that when you plant trees in the midst of poverty where people cannot afford LPG gas, they would cut down the trees for charcoal. The NPP and Akufo-Addo remains committed to a Northern Development Authority agenda, and we would invest heavily in the Northern region through this authority in order to accelerate development in the North. See you next week for yet another interesting edition of Minority Caucus. Good night.